We all go through things in life, and it seems it's not going to get better. Problems come and problems go. People talk about you, but you still grow. Whatever you want, you must get it straight from within and not listen to the distractions on the outside. You think people are supposed to be there to help you, and it seems in your mind everything is against you. Well, it's time to stand up from within right now on Real Issues.
Hey, this is Rahn Anthony, Real Issues. I am so glad to be here this Friday, man. I'm telling you, I got some great stuff for you. I have some, oh my goodness, man. You want to know what's going on? I have the young man, and he can sing. Y'all need to check out his music, too. I'm going to be playing it, so make sure you check it out. It is Derick Johnson, and this, this is so great to have you, and I appreciate everything that Derick is doing. We set up this thing on it was one of the platforms, and it's like TikTok, and it just went boom. I'm like, whoa. So it's some questions that we're going to get into later, but I just want to introduce you to Derick Johnson. Derick, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. I'm more good than pretty, but I'm walking. I'm alive.
Amen. Yes, and you're a believer. A knower. That's what I'm going to say. You know that the power of God exists. So
I know that the power of God exists. That is a fact. That's for sure.
Yes. Now, I just, I'm just going to let you have this because there's so much going on that the people don't understand. And I've followed you. I've listened to you. And I know it's like repetitious, but this is something that is a blessing for you to know what's going on. And by you being connected to all the key people, what is going on behind the scenes in this world today?
I always start out with legally, Donald John Trump is still your commander-in-chief, not president. There are two separate roles, two separate duties, two separate obligations, two separate laws. And then I backtrack it a little bit to give people just a brief history that our nation was founded by the military first. Or by the military, by our founders, they established the military first. They kind of did it backwards, which is kind of funny. They did it unconventional, but they actually started the war. Right, the Battle of Lexington and Concord, they kicked that off. Then they were like, wait, we don't even have an established military. So then they established the Army first. Then they established war articles, which became military law. Then the Navy, then the Marine Corps came, then the flag. So they kind of did everything backwards. That was long before the Declaration of Independence. Then they signed the Declaration of Independence 7 years before the war ended. But if you read the Declaration, it reads as if they already won the war. And I think that's very critical for people to see. So the military was established long before the Declaration of Independence, long before the Articles of Confederation, long before the Constitution, and long before the Bill of Rights. And people need to know that first. So the military can act with and without Congress. Military is separate from government. All right, people need to understand that. Now, we sure do. We work to protect the Constitution. All right, that's what the military protects. Military don't protect president. Military don't protect Congress. They protect the Constitution. And people have to understand that. That's a very key thing. All right. And in 1803, Marbury versus Madison, we had a founding father having to go into a court 14 years after the Constitution to clarify what a law looked like. And it specifically says any statute that bears the appearance of a law that doesn't support the Constitution is null and void. All right. That was 14 years after the Constitution. So how do you think we're going to look all these years later when they take all this out of our schools? They take cursive writing out so kids can't read cursive, right? So it was all that. Well, then people have to understand in 1871 is where things went haywire with the United States of America, and we became a federal corporation. All right, that's in 28 U.S. Code 3002. You can read way down at the bottom, United States Federal Corporation. In the Organic Act of 1871, we went back under the crown, and they wanted this division for a reason. These career politicians pulled badges over all of our heads. It don't matter if you're black, white, whatever you are, what race you are, nationality you are, whatever your belief is, religious-wise, patriotism, they pinned us against the very core principles of America and the Constitution, what our founders established. They pinned us against us with race, religion, politics, and patriotism. And when people wake up with that, but they have to know that first. Well, right now, there's some things in place, but there's two things people have to understand. We have two powers in the U.S. We have the federal government, we have the military. All right, the federal government is supposed to work off the Constitution. The military works off what they call a law of war manual. All right, and there's these things called optics and comms. And I've been teaching people what that means. But if you remember, they've been talking about President Trump terminating the Constitution. They bring that up all the time. That's what we call an optic and a comm for people to hear. He didn't terminate it, but what that means is when the federal government is under a continuity of government, that means the Constitution is paused or suspended, however you want to look at it. And then the military is in control and what they call a military occupancy, which is found in the Law of War Manual, which is the Department of Defense's basically quote-unquote Constitution, if you will. And there's three simple things that people can look at. Three simple things. Federal continuity of government, federal continuity directives, then you have the Law of War Manual, and then you have the Military Justice Act, which pairs both of those. So really quick. January 17, 2017, there is a federal continuity directive that was issued. That's FCD-1. Then you have FCD-2, which came out June 13, 2017. So it shows you a continuity in a different way, all pun intended. It was put out by the Government Publishing Office. The second one was FEMA. On the front of those pages, there are multiple pages, but on the front of those booklets, it talks about it's the Department of Homeland Security and FEMA, all right? And so January 17, 2017 was 3 days before Donald John Trump took office, all right? And inside that, people say, well, how do you know to start with that one? Because it tells you inside of it. It says specifically anything prior to this booklet is canceled with this booklet, all right? So federal continuity of government. What is a continuity of government? It is a plan where the president has presidential policy directives in order to keep the three branches of government performing their national essential functions. That means the executive branch, legislative branch, and judicial branch are all under a continuity of government, which means that they are to perform their national essential functions, all right? But they're powerless other than that, right? So there's been 7 of those issued. January 17, 2017, June 13, 2017, February 2018, January 2021, July 2021, and the most recent one is April 2023. And inside of it, the most recent, it only talks about Donald John Trump's executive orders, all right? So if President Trump is a former president, how come, quote-unquote, Biden administration doesn't have something that they're operating off of? So that's how you know there's one way. The military uses the Law of War Manual, all right? So when the federal government's under a cause, that means everybody knows what's going on. All the court systems from your county seat all the way to Supreme Court. And that also means your congressmen from your local representative all the way up to your state, your U.S. senators and your U.S. congressmen. They all know what's going on because they're under a continuity of government. Then the Department of Defense comes into play with the Law of War Manual. And I have a little blueprint out there, and let me just show people really quick. So June 12, 2015, the Law of War Manual was issued. June 16, 4 days later, Donald John Trump rolls down the escalator to announce his candidacy for president. All right, no coincidence. Then the Military Justice Act was written in 2016 by the United States Supreme Court. And what's key about that, once again, when you know what a continuity of government is, and when you know we're in a continuity of government, and you know what a continuity of government is versus military occupancy, and you'll know the military is in a military occupancy, and they take over all elections. They take over any kind of function such as that for a clean-out process. All right, when you know that, you'll understand the importance of that Military Justice Act. It is the very first piece of paper in U.S. history that clarifies our founders. They specifically wrote, the United States Supreme Court wrote this in 2016, but it didn't pass until the 2017 National Defense Authorization Act, which is the defense budget, when Congress is already under a cause. So see, they wrote it before the cause, which is very important. That was an essential function because defense budget is an essential function of the protection of the Constitution and the protection of the people. And in the Military Justice Act, first time in history that our founders have been clarified, the United States Supreme Court did 3 things in it. In the very first paragraph, it tells you military law supersedes that of its counterpart, so the civilian court. So military law supersedes civil and federal law. They clarified that president and commander-in-chief are 2 separate roles, 2 separate duties, 2 separate obligations and laws. And they third clarified that commander-in-chief, which is Article 2 of the Constitution, is separated from Article 3 of the Constitution, which is the federal government. They clarified that all in that document. Right? So that means everybody's been watching since January 20th, 2017, when Donald John Trump took the oath. There were 2 military officers that walked up behind him on the stage as he's taking the oath, as he delivered the most biblical, monumental, historical speech you'll ever hear in your life, where he said, we're taking the power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to the people.
Yes.
The people. And he had 2 military officers walk up behind him, which is what we call an optic in the military. He's delivering a comm. He has an optic walk up. 2 military officers behind him with headbands, military intelligence, and judge advocate general. Who collects the crimes and evidence of that, and who judges the crimes and evidence in a court? Military intelligence collects all the evidence, and judge advocate general are the ones who decide the punishment and the criminality of those. All right, that was an optic of what was coming. And all these speeches that he has said, everything that man has said, whether you like it or not, has come to fruition. It has happened, it's gonna happen, and it's still happening. All right, so we're under a federal continuity of government. So that means the Constitution is suspended. That means the law of war manual is up on the plate. The military is in what they call a military occupancy. They take over all the elections. When President Trump says we have it all, we've crossed them all. We equals military intelligence. We equals judge advocate general. We have it all. We've caught them all. What they're doing, Donald Trump walked in and did what? Well, let me phrase it this way.
Yes.
Every American right now has their brains and their lives have been conditioned to every 4 years, or every 8 years if a president gets another term, but every 4 years. That is not the way the founders intended the United States of America. The Constitution protects all rights and all people. As long as you're not hurting or harming somebody, it don't matter what you're doing behind closed doors. As long as you're not cramming it down our children's throat, as long as you're not cramming it down people's throat, as long as you're not hurting or harming somebody, the Constitution does protect you. All right, and the career politicians, have pinned us against core values every 4 years, and they keep a balance within themselves. But the only people that benefit is them. It don't benefit us.
Right.
It don't benefit us at all.
So I gotta say, right there, how did it start with a corporate? I mean, I know with the corporation. Can you explain what does that mean? Because with the people out here, and I know the career politicians, the corporation, is it just like McDonald's?
They run it just like a business, right?
Wow.
So, and that's why they use Donald John Trump. The military used Donald John Trump.
Yeah.
Because when he said it on the campaign trail, he specifically said, when Jeb Bush looked at him and said, who's going to vote for you? Who's going to back you? And who's going to support you? My man looked at the administrator and said, hey, and looked at the moderator. He said, hey, that's a loaded question. That's more than one question. And and he looked at Jeb. He said, if this moderator right here give me time, I'm going to answer that for you. He said, one, who's going to vote for me? The American people. He said, because the American people are tired of BS politicians like you. Every single one of you on this stage has held office for no less than 4 years, and you tell the American people what they want to hear, and you never back it up. And he said, who's going to support me and who's going to back me? Now, what he said after this has been a conspiracy theory for over 60 years. All right,
yeah.
That's when I really perked up. This is what really got me back in 2016 going, I've heard this before, and that was called a conspiracy theory. He said, who's going to back me and who's going to support me? I have over 200 generals backing me right now, and more to come. Okay, what that meant in history, not collectively, but just passed down, no different than you might have some kind of knife or a gun or something that's been passed down for generations.
Right.
There's been generals who said specifically that never again will we let happen in this country what happened under JFK. If we get a chance to take it over, we're going to take it over and reset it on its foundation, which is what the Declaration of Independence specifically gives us the right to do. When he looked at Jeb Bush, that's what he said. He said, I have 200 generals backing me right now, more to come. And I know he has over 800 plus generals backing him. Now, when people, the individual out there, most civilians hear 800 generals, they hear individuals. Not a veteran like me. When I hear 800 generals, I hear generals and their divisions all the way down to the lowest level private in all those divisions. Okay? And guess who takes orders? And guess who gives orders? It's the commander-in-chief, and then the generals, and the generals all the way down. Right? So, a federal corporation, what Donald John Trump did right in front of everybody, and this is what they used him for. All right? When he went in there and did what he did on the presidential side, remember, keep in mind, president and commander-in-chief are two separate roles, two separate duties. What he did, he went in, he dismantled, he bankrupted us on purpose because the fiat currency ain't worth anything. That's the very thing these career politicians, they have been using our money, right? They've been taxing the living you-know-what out of it.
Yeah.
None of us are free what people think. We have attack for attack for attack. We have attack for attack. We have so many taxes that keep us enslaved that we're just really functioning. We're just existing. And who's pocketing it? It's career politicians all around the world. It's like a fraternity, right? So drug trafficking, human trafficking, child trafficking, sex trafficking, that's how they fund their livelihoods, right? And it don't matter if they're doing it like themselves personally, but it's kind of like an out of sight, out of mind. Someone on the rat level, down on the very level, they're doing it, right? But it's still funneling into their bank accounts. All right, we already know with Epstein, there's so many things that's been unraveled, and it's just a matter of people applying it and understanding that. But what the military did with President Trump on the presidential side, he had a strong, booming economy plus $770 billion defense budget, and he never started a war. And what has he been saying lately? We're going to end defense contractors and lobbyists because why? Because they make excuses to keep us in war. So Donald Trump never started a war, and he had a $770 billion defense budget, plus our economy. And if people will remember, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, every time a Democrat president gets in, what do? They cut the defense budget, and the economy goes up. Republican gets in, what happens? Economy goes down, and they put in a big defense budget. That is not checks and balances, ladies and gentlemen. That is how they keep their livelihood.
Right.
That's how they'll raise one side up. If you're liberal, if you think left or whatever it is, they raise you up, and then the other side gets mad. Then the president comes in and raises the right side up, and the left side's mad. That's not checks and balances whatsoever. Because I don't care what you do behind closed doors. If you're not hurting or harming somebody, I can't make you be a Christian. I can't make you like country music. I can't make you, and you shouldn't want to be made to, if someone's trying to make you be something, you wouldn't want that either. That don't sound too fun. It's like, all right, now, I'm going to beat you over the head. You're going to listen to country music today. And you're like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Well, right. And so many people need to just take a chill and go, look, a guy like me will protect your choice, but you have to understand how our founders established it. And they're cleaning that out to get us on a level foundation again. And then we can talk about things of morals and things that but you people should not want the federal government having control of some things, right? And so it's like my dad always says, my dad used to say all this all the time, like when I would procrastinate something as a teenager or something, and it'd be something like, so like, let's just look at a topic, like, we won't use certain topics, but when people say my body, my choice, well, they can't flip around and turn around and blame something on the president, saying, well, you should have told us, he should have done this.
Right.
Wait, you're saying the president's supposed to tell you what to do with a certain kind of medicine or something? When you just said my body, my choice, which one is it? My dad calls it, you're splitting hairs. All right, you're splitting hairs. Well, which one is it? Do you want the president to be able to tell you? Because if the president can tell you what shot to get, then guess what else he can do? I don't think tattoos are good for you. Well, I don't think drinking's good for you. I don't think smoking's good. Whoa, then you're getting real hairy, right? So, Which one is it? So what I'm trying to tell people and what my mission is like, look, the president has a role. His role is Article 2 of the Constitution and Article 4, which are borders, all right, and the protection of his people and the Constitution. That's it. Congress is supposed to be doing what's good for the people, right? But when Congress gets out of hand, the military can step in. The military can remove a president. Our founders made that precedent. It hasn't happened, but they can do that according to our documents and according to our foundation. And if people would really seek to understand that foundation, the Constitution actually is a good thing. It's broad for a reason, and it was never supposed to henpeck your life like it has been doing, and all these other people who have been benefiting off of it. Like, they tell you not to have a gun, but they got security all around them. They tell you we shouldn't have a wall. They live behind walls. So if I'm not going to, I'll go, okay, well, you can have my gun, and I won't live behind the wall if you start doing it. All right, let's see how that works.
So who's the president?
There's no president right now. We have a commander-in-chief of the military. Now,
right.
It had to be a controlled operation for this reason. And when people say, well, I don't see that, I can't see it, well, you just don't know what you're looking at. And that old saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. Well,
right.
There's a statistic out there. You can get on Google and you can look up. It's around 68 to 75% of Americans cannot simply name the three branches of government. If you can't name the three branches of government, you can't be whining, griping, fussing, complaining, cussing, debating or arguing me on showing you, well, guess what? When I raise my right hand to go in the Army, that's Title 10. Guess who's the only person who can federalize the National Guard active duty? That would be the president. Guess what title that is? Title 10. All right, so you can't say, well, I believe in the military, but I don't believe in what this guy's saying, because it's the same Title 10. And the only person who's federalized National Guard active duty in recent years is Donald John Trump, and they're still active in Executive Order 13912, which has been extended out to March 2024. All right, so in March 2020, all right, for all the sleepyheads out there, as I call them, not the ones that read laws and orders and can follow what I've been saying, all right, and the ones that already knew it, because what I've shown people is really, it's all public information, but I'm the only one that's put it in a blueprint. People discover me, but if you'd have known it before and saw all these, it's not secretive. It's not like something that I have and only I have. It's all public information, right? So I say there's two narratives. There's people who read the laws and know military laws and military orders and regulations and also federal. And then there's people who are sleepy, and that's the ones I'm trying to wake up. All right, so there's two narratives. If you knew what's going on, then you know. If you didn't, you had to see everything done by the letter of the law. So like in December 2020, a couple of my buddies texted me. This is before I blew up. But a couple of buddies texted me, well, your boy lost 59 of 60 circuit courts. I said, well, one, that's just one layer of courts, first off. Two, I reckon he did lose because 59 of those judges were appointed by whom? Clinton, Bush, and Obama. So I guess he would lose those courts, right? Because they're a federal corporation. They're all in it together. This is not just a Republican thing. People need, and Democrat thing. People need to understand that. This is on both sides of the aisle. All right? This is a clean out of the corporation. But all the sleepy people and those that aren't paying attention to the laws and orders that are in place, because it forms a blueprint. You don't have to know every law. You don't have to know every order. You just need to know this blueprint that's there. But the ones that don't know, they had to see this play out at whatever capacity they finally catch on and understand their individual responsibility. Even President Trump put that in his national security strategy in 2017, that everybody has an individual responsibility. And it's up to people to find that and know that and find their purpose and find their voice the right way. So in March 2020, all right, this is why President Trump, I've done learning to mimic him pretty good. I'm getting pretty good at it after being around him a couple times. But he goes, he'll say, if they're going to investigate me, they've got to investigate every president before me immediately. Well, immediately is the key word there. All right, what he's saying is, hey, I'm using laws and orders that I didn't write or pass myself. They're just there. They've been amended. They're in our law book. And here's what he means. For the people who were asleep this whole time, go back to March 2020. March 2020, you have to put yourself back there and go, I remember that. That was early on. COVID was not very well known yet. All right, it's just everybody was like learning about what it was, what is this, and everybody was in panic mode. Some were in panic mode. Some were going, I don't know. So take yourself back. March 13th, he declared a national emergency verbally. All right, but in March 27th, he put it as a direct military order. All right, he federalized 1 million National Guard active duty. That is a direct military order from the Commander-in-Chief. Meaning, as long as he's doing the 3 S's in the military, I won't say the one word, but as long as he's showering, shaving, and doing the other things, as long as he's breathing and walking, he holds that command. I'm going to show you how. But the other thing he did, he put it in a federal order, Executive Order 13912. All right, that's also, drum roll, Title 10, 10 U.S. Code 1209. So there's that same Title 10 again. He federalized 1 million National Guard active duty. That executive order's been extended out to March 2024. That's part of the cause. And I'm going to show you in a minute how Biden ain't real and he's just an actor. Everything that everybody's watching.
Before you do that, is this why, I just want to say this, is this why they're trying to destroy him as a so-called, they're trying to destroy Donald J. Trump in the public. Because of what he's doing behind the scenes, and it's all under military. What is it?
No, they're not. This is So during a wartime let me show you this really quick, and I'll answer that for you, because it ties in what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay.
So on March 27th, he federalized 1 million National Guard. That's a direct military order from the Commander-in-Chief. Then he put it in a federal executive order. Like I said, Executive Order 13912. That is a federal order. All right, so federal government. So that as president, he did that on the presidential side. And then as Commander-in-Chief, military side, he gave a direct order. All right, as long as he's doing those 3 S's, he holds that command. All right, because laws are either revised or revoked, orders are either rescinded or mission accomplished. All right, and every single executive order that Donald Trump declared a national emergency in has all been extended. And none of those national emergencies benefit Biden or anybody in the Biden, any kind of corruption, none of those. It's different had it been some other kind of national emergency. No. The ones that Donald John Trump put into place are they smoking hot, and they call out all corruption, all kinds of trafficking, all kinds of any kind of extortion, everything. All right, so what you witnessed, what everybody witnessed and didn't realize it, Donald John Trump, the same way Franklin D. Roosevelt, everybody's watching the World War II history repeat via the same laws. That's why he says, if they're going to investigate me, they got to investigate every president before me immediately. And here's how. December 7th, 1941, we were attacked. All right. It put us into World War II. Franklin D. Roosevelt told Congress. He didn't ask Congress. He told Congress, it is my duty as president to be commander-in-chief of the Army and the Navy to support and uphold the Constitution and the protection of my people. If you don't respond, I will. And he said, and who do you think the military is going to listen to, Congress or me? All right, so Congress gave Roosevelt the power to restructure the executive branch for a president to declare war. Now, does that go against the Constitution? Yes, but guess who did it? Roosevelt, not Trump. All right, so Roosevelt did this. All right, that is 50 U.S. Code, Chapter 33, Section 1541. It specifically says when a president cannot enforce the law, he can, by national emergency, declare a war. That is 50 U.S. Code, which is titled War and National Defense. When a president becomes a wartime president, not a president who starts a war like Bush and Obama, not like that, okay, which it wasn't Obama who started the war, it was Bush. Let's just make that clear. But for those who keep it going, but the ones especially who started the war, the Bushes, who are corrupt, as corrupt can get, all right, the Bushes, all right, when a president starts war, it's different. A wartime president is a whole different kind of wartime and war situation. All right, okay. Roosevelt is a wartime, and Donald Trump is a wartime president. He became that. All right, when you become a wartime president, here's your answer to your question. The media goes under that. Even though we already have receipts showing we're in a continuity government. This is for the ones who know what's going on, but the ones that don't know what's going on, when you become a wartime president, you have special powers. And what you're asking is, here's what they're doing. So, in a continuity government, which is a clean out of the federal corporation, which is a bunch of stuff, all right, and also military occupancy, which is, Donald Trump started a war on all trafficking, all right, a different kind of war. They're cleaning out all this corruption. That's the Global Magnitsky Act paired with Executive Order 13818, which is human rights abuse of all kinds. So it encompasses all trafficking, which funds these dirty politicians and these career politicians and the global elitists around the world, the George Soros people, all those kind of people.
Right.
He started that, right? Well, in order to clean out this level, they're not just cleaning out the ones that people can visually see, that people have visually seen on TV. They got to clean out the rats that work for them all the way down as much as they can. When President Trump says we're going to clean out street crime by 75 to 85%, that's a lot of crime. Okay, so when you think about that, when you encompass that, okay, when you think of that right there, He has a power called War Powers of the President, 47 U.S. Code 606. The president can shut down TV, internet, and radio broadcasts, and also closing of government facilities. So what they're doing, Donald Trump is known for one thing. He looks like he's about to lose, and then, boom, he wins.
He comes out.
This is the greatest story ever told outside of Jesus Christ, okay? Not comparing to Christ, because he wouldn't do it, and I'm not doing it either, but it's up under that meaning. This is a monstrous clean out of the corporation all around the world. This is a world alliance. It's a world operation. That's why he went on those monumental tours. That's why he stepped into North Korea. Reagan didn't do so. That's why he was crowned king in Saudi Arabia. That's why he stepped in front of the queen, because they're dismantling the crown. All right, the British crown, the royal crown. They're dismantling that. All right, that's why he declared Jerusalem capital of Israel, which was major biblical implications. Ask Benjamin Netanyahu about that. Okay, that's why Donald Trump stepped in front of all the people at the G7 summit, where he was just smiling and grinning and pushing people out of the way. That's why he was playing with the Pope's hand, kicking the Pope's hand like he did, because they're dismantling the Vatican, because the Vatican behind those walls are not doing what people think behind them walls. Okay?
Amen.
All of this was a biblical, monumental, historical world operation. And Donald Trump, they are using a controlled operation to clean out all this stuff. They didn't want people in the street. They don't want the Barney Fives from the South with their AR-15s getting out in the street going, I'll fight for my country if I have to, because they never did. They didn't go serve. And they didn't want the spatulas and the unicorns in the streets either fighting the Barney Fives, right? They didn't want that. They don't want that. We don't want that. As a veteran, I can tell, we don't want that. We don't have to fight like that. So the military's in a military occupancy. They war on trafficking. The Washington Times, everything's told you, 2018, 2019, they told you the Army spent $500 million training soldiers for our next wars will be in mega cities, but not inside them, but underneath them. So that's tunnels, subterranean warfare. 2019, DARPA requested all immediate access to tunnels under universities all around the country for military. Okay, so they told people all the way. So it's been right in front of everybody, but people didn't know what they were looking at. Donald Trump, he talks about Nancy Pelosi calling off the National Guard. Nancy Pelosi is a representative. She has no military say-so whatsoever. That is all an optic for people to go, wait, the president's the only one who can federalize the National Guard active duty, and it was January the 6th and 17th that the National Guard from all 50 states, first time in history, all 50 states were in one location at one time. The only person who can do that is the President of the United States. That's to wake everybody up, and they didn't wake up. But January 6th and 17th, 2021, who was the president? Donald John Trump. He's the only one who could have commanded all those National Guards into D.C. That's just what that is. Drum roll. Title 10, 12406. All right, so Title 10, there it is again. So it's like I tell people, you don't have to like it. You ain't got to like him, but it don't matter. But it actually benefits everybody as a whole, because President Trump tells people all the time, what we're doing, the haters and trolls don't realize we're making everybody's lives better. And it's going to make everybody, and you'll be happy with the results. He keeps saying that over and over. But you can see it too when you watch my pages. Now, you probably wouldn't know this. The average person wouldn't, the civilian. But I put out all these flight radars. And I show the National Guard. I show the National Guard out of the state jurisdictions every single day and United States jurisdictions every single day. All right, the National Guard are known for one thing. 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. There's no way I have 30,000 photos on my phone. Just the time I get to spend every day looking occasionally. I don't spend all day every day on the flight app, so I just get as many as I can when I can and post them. But they're also only showing you 10% of what they put on the transponder. Okay, there's a lot that's flying what we call blackout, or they're not reporting. There's a multitude of them running under no call sign, which would be normal under FAA. They wouldn't allow that, all right, because, you know, we need to be able to identify. There's a lot of them flying no registration whatsoever. That's in the public eye that you can see. It's no different than tracking your friend or cousin or a family member coming in on an aircraft, and you want to watch their flight in. It's there. All right, so what people can see it just goes back to, do they know the material? Do they know the laws and orders in place? And that's what I've been trying to help with people. And there's one thing that shows it all, and it's a sacred thing, because I wear a memorial bracelet on my wrist for a sergeant of mine. All right, every person who's taken the fall, an ultimate sacrifice for this nation, raised their right hand under Title 10 as well. All right, so this is sacred. It's trollful, because in the military we use dark humor a lot, but so it's one way to laugh at it. It's another way to take it serious. But the military, on January 20th, 2021, all right, not 2017, but 2021, when the whole world thought Orange Man bad, rode him to the sunset, and all this other stuff, it's the United States Army, my branch, who performs all presidential inauguration services. All right? They're known as the 3rd Infantry Division, the Old Guard, the official presidential salute battery. All right? We use 4 cannons for the salute, 21-gun salute, 4 cannons. It's also the Army who performs all funeral services for the president, the ones who actually lay the president in the ground, right? The Army.
Right.
We use 3 cannons. All right? So on January 20th, 2021, at Joint Base Andrews, Donald Trump rolls off Marine One on a red carpet rollout, and on the 4th ruffle, this is how particular the military is, on the 4th ruffle, dun, 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 4 of those. The 21-gun salute goes off and Hail to the Chief at the same time. All right? Why are they playing Hail to the Chief to Donald John Trump on January 20th, 2021? All right? So, and then why does he have 4 cannons there? 21-gun salute and 4 cannons. Now let's roll to the other side of town. First off, it was 2 different live feeds. There was one that was a live feed and pre-recorded. You can see trees in one shot, and then you can see no trees in another shot.
Right.
You have the quote-unquote motorcade that goes by hundreds of National Guards. It'd be different if one little dumb private was standing around and he didn't salute the motorcade as it rolled by. But when you got every single unit, multiple units, and the motorcade goes by that supposedly had Biden in there, and not a single one of those soldiers are saluting that motorcade, no. The other side to it, CBS shows you all these guys in multicam and Kevlar, ACU Kevlar, all right? I mean, mismatch, all kinds of mismatch, insignia all over the place. As the military would call it, you're all, you know what, go square yourself away, all right? Multiple of them. Then they showed a Marine in a BDU uniform. The Marines ain't worn BDU since 2005, all right? I mean, it's right in front of everybody. Then old Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., the one that all he said it. He said it on TV. He talked about the black kids. Black kids want to touch my golden hairy legs in the pool. I mean, if you want to talk racist, I mean, first off, that's creepy to even have to repeat that out of your mouth, that all the kids want to touch my golden hairy legs in the pool. That's nasty, all right? He's raising his right hand at 11:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is a violation of the 20th Amendment of the Constitution, which specifically says the president's term shall end at noon. Its successor shall then begin. That little then is very critical. Shall then begin. It means they can't begin until after noon. You can't have 2 presidents and 2 commander-in-chiefs with the nuclear codes. All right, the presidential football, as they call it, the nuclear football. You wouldn't do that. It don't matter if it's just a matter of minutes. That'd be stupid, and it breaks protocol, and it breaks everything else. Then, you go over to the grave of an unknown soldier. Everybody in the military knows this. When you walk indoors, your cover goes off, your hat, as civilians, you don't know what a cover is, a cap or a hat. When you walk indoors, your hat goes off. When you walk outside, that cover is on. Always. Right beside the wreath, there's multiple soldiers there, but there's one soldier right by that wreath with his cover off. No. All right, everybody's supposed to be in unison. All those uniforms are all out of whack. Not a single one of those uniforms match each other. Biden didn't touch the wreath. That wreath is sacred. All right, he didn't touch the wreath. Then you flip over to the most beautiful thing you see in the world. How come Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. received a full-grade military funeral service? You can go look it up on C-SPAN right now. Go on YouTube. Live, still up. 3 cannons.
Wow.
3 cannons. And let me tell you what that is. World War II history repeat. Donald Trump said in March 2020, when the mainstream media, who are under control, this is all a controlled operation, all right? The media said what? They asked him, are you a wartime president? He said, yes, I believe I am. And then they said, expand on that. He said, well, we're in a different war, but same scenario as World War II. Different war, same scenario. Same scenario means laws. Different war means not the kind that people are used to. all right, as World War II. Guess what Roosevelt also did in World War II? The United States of America, with the Philippines, put a puppet in to address the media and address the public, while the actual president of the Philippines was in what they call exile. He had full control of his military and full control of the protection of his people, and the United States of America and Franklin D. Delano Roosevelt flew that president back and forth from the Philippines to the U.S. and kept him protected. It's a World War II history repeat. That is known as the Commonwealth Act number 671. And it's hard to find on Google, but it's you can type in gazette.gov comma and put in Commonwealth Act 671 and it'll pull it up. All right? That's what happened. And everybody's watching a World War II history repeat. Now, what's the final goal? The final goal is going to be a massive clean out of the corporation. We're going to give the power back to the people. It's going to look just like it's supposed to look. All right, our elections will be cleaned up. We'll have voter ID. We'll have same-day elections, as President Trump talks about. He said we're going to have term limits put on Congress. All right, why did Congress in 1951 put term limits on the president but not on themselves? There's a history, too, of that showing how more and more and more corrupt the career politicians got. Then 1968, we left the Gold Standard Act. All right, we don't have anything that backs our money up. Congress made the dollar as valuable as they wanted it to be, or invaluable as they wanted it to be, and that wasn't that long ago. So we didn't have gold standard. We had nothing backing our money, right? And that shows you there's a timeline there with the corruption of that. So there's a lot of stuff people can go back and see on my documents and all that and the videos I put out. But the general principle is just a continuity of government. The suspension or the pausing of the Constitution. The military's in full control, but they didn't want people out in the streets. They don't want people out in the streets. There's no reason to panic. Everything is under control. It's a different kind of war. Same scenario as World War II. The good guys are in control. President Trump did something, too, that no president's ever done. He, in Executive Order 13919, he gave equal authority to the Secretary of Defense to have control and command with the armed forces and the National Guard. All right, so this is a massive operation, world operation, and all those partnerships he made with the Abraham Accords, the USMCA. He ended NAFTA, created the agreement between Canada and Mexico. All right, every single day, there's been aircraft from Mexico here, Canada here, Australia here, Belgium here. I can even name them all. United Kingdom here, Hungary here, Tunisia here, Egypt here. Just this morning, Egypt was leaving out of Illinois or somewhere over there, Missouri, out of just a regular little airport, no base. All right, so it's all right in front of everybody. It's just a matter of if they need the tools to read and understand that first, and then they can go look at these visuals and go, holy smokes. And you're watching biblical history.
Biblical time. So what's going to happen with the, because I know I've heard and I've followed you too, as far as Guantanamo Bay. When is this over and when are we, I know you don't know the exact time, but for some people, and I want to get to the questions too now, but when is it over, like as far as the Guantanamo Bay, all this stuff, so we can move forward?
Well, the New York Times put it out there on December 29, 2021, that there would be joint sessions starting at Guantanamo Bay, Gitmo, in mid-2023. Now, personally, I was hired on by a radio station recently in order for me to get my passes to go to Guantanamo Bay. And matter of fact, this morning, I had my Zoom call, my orientation for that with the lieutenant commander who will be taking me down there. Now they can't tell you who it is and what it is, naturally, because that'd be leaked. But the one that we tried to get in for June, and it got filled up pretty fast because they do get, like New York, you have your New York Times and Washington Post and all these people, but they're trying to get me a waiver for that. But if anything, I can go to Maryland and view it. I can view it in a private session. So I'm probably going to do that in June. And then we're scheduled to go down. We're trying to get down there August the 5th through the 19th. So that shows you right there that it's going out. One of the trials is out in August. And, of course, we have in our Constitution and our codes, and we have 4 different locations under United States jurisdiction. That's Guam, Guantanamo Bay, the Northern Mariana Islands, which is right near Guam. Obviously, they're part of that strand of islands, and then Virgin Islands. There's also been a lot of air traffic in and out of Diego Garcia, which is in the Indian Ocean, and then Christmas Island, which is belongs to Australia, or near Australia and Malaysia. So there's a lot of air traffic in and out of there. And so I'm personally trying to get to Guantanamo Bay. We're going to try to get to the others if we can, when we can. But, the end goal, that will be the start. It's like the Nuremberg trials, the Hague Conventions, Geneva Conventions. That's what the actual law war manual talks about for people out there. The Hague Conventions, Geneva Conventions, the Nuremberg trials, and the Lieber Code of 1863. So that will be the start. Whenever they start airing those to the public, not sure, but I know that there will be. President Trump has already said there will be live firing squads on national TV again. Right after he said that, the governor of Idaho signed in the law in Idaho firing squads. That right there should give chills to anybody for the fact of people already cringe for the thought of a lethal injection, but a firing squad.
Yes.
That's up for people. I know there's a lot. That's an opinionated topic for sure. But everything that President Trump said has come true. It's come to fruition. He's been what we call optics again in comms. Starting November the 15th, 2022, when everybody thought he was announcing for 2024, he wasn't. That speech was loaded full of military comms and optics.
Yes.
He specifically said, pretty soon we're going to put a beautiful flag on the surface of Mars. Well, everybody's thinking the red ball in the sky. It's not. Military Auxiliary Radio System. All right, emergency communications, which are all found in the Federal Continuity Directives. It's also found in his national security strategy. Ham radios, amateur radios, all throughout his speeches on OAN and Newsmax throughout 2021, 2022. It showed on the bottom line how to purchase and how to get an emergency radio. What just happened with the Senate just this past week? 50 senators were issued what? Emergency satellite phones.
Yes.
What happened just right a few days before that? On the Senate building, the flag was hung upside down, a nation in distress, and then quickly removed. That was a quick optic for everybody. Then a few days later, 50 senators are getting an emergency satellite phone. All right. When you go read these Federal Continuity Directives, paired with President Trump's speeches, all right, in these directives, it talks about emergency relocation groups and devolution emergency response groups. All right, right now, some of those aircraft, a lot of these aircraft that I post on my sites out there are running with the call sign E and a number, R and a number, G and a number. Emergency relocation groups. They're surveillance and reconnaissance aircraft. They've been flying around multiple cities, all over mega cities, big cities. What did President Trump say November the 15th, 2022 again? He said we're going to decimate street crime by 75 to 85%. We're going to go in and take out all these MS-13 gang members. What did El Salvador do recently? 40,000 gang members, MS-13, herded down the street like cattle by their law enforcement into a massive federal prison that they built. All right. What aircraft was just in El Salvador yesterday? United States aircraft, C-130. All right, pretty cool optics out there. So, moving forward, CPAC, he had the former president of Brazil there. What also happened in Brazil? Their elections had corruption. It's not just a U.S. thing, all right? He had the former president there. He also gave a shout-out to Tom Homan. He said, where's Tom Homan at? Where's he at? Most lethal ICE director in history. He looks at Tom Homan and says, you're central casting. All throughout 2017 to present day, President Trump has repeated over and over and over and over again to generals and to key people, and also in his speech on the CNN town hall meeting the other night about these boxes in Chinatown, he said it's all central casting. You got to hear it. Central casting. When you Google central casting, what's the first thing that pops up? The leading background actor agency in the United States. All right, and they ain't talking about roles that you go get in a Tyler Perry film or in a, I can't even think of anybody, Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. No, we're talking about whom? We're talking about these weird kind of roles. Hey, come lay in this alley and look like this. You can get on the site, centralcasting.com. President Trump is telling people without telling people. They're called optics. He said specifically at Waco and CPAC, He said, we're going to tear down bad and ugly buildings. We're going to build these beautiful cities up, and the people are going to get to participate. He also talked about a retribution fund. There's one thing the Bible talks about that we have left in our nation. It also shows how we left God, but we also did not do what the Word says. The Word says every 7 years your debts are wiped out. All right, I'm a walking testimony of that. It was never about are you worthy or deserving or not. It's to get people to understand what the Constitution actually says. But I'm a disabled veteran, and in August 2020, President Trump specifically said, he said, we're going to wipe out all disabled veteran student loans, and there were some other things in there that he talked about. But in October 2020, boom, all my student loans were taken out. All right, so this retribution fund, he's been mentioning that over and over and over. He said America's golden age is just ahead. Well, guess who's going to be the first state, September the 1st, 2023, to go to a gold-backed digital currency? All right, that'd be the state of Texas. Where's the Treasury Department at right now? The state of Texas. Not in D.C. D.C. is a ghost town. Go to D.C. There ain't nothing there. It's a ghost town.
There.
The FBI building. The IRS. So, the other thing he said really quick that backs his continuity direction, he said we're going to go in these cities and we're going to take the homeless off and we're going to take them to FEMA camps. We're going to give them the help they deserve, the mental therapy that they deserve if they need it. And he said, but it's also not fair to us law-abiding citizens to walk down these beautiful cities that we built up. That, I mean, look at all the cities we have, like Atlanta, and look at Chicago, and look at New York. I mean, I've been to all of them. And look how some of the filth has gotten in it. He said, we're going to tear down bad and ugly buildings. We're going to take the homeless off because law-abiding citizens, those of us who have abided by the law, right, no matter how we live our life, we ain't hurt or harmed nobody. We've done everything by the standards and the principles and the core values of the United States of America. It's not fair to us to have to walk down these streets and look over our shoulders and wonder what's going to happen. All right, so that means a military occupancy clean-out. So all these aircraft moving about, they've been doing surveillance and also reconnaissance. All right, so they're going to have to go in all at one time. It'll be another form of some kind of lockdown, but it won't be bad. It's going to be a massive clean-out. That's what he's predicting, and all his speeches outline those federal continuity directives. The FCD2, all right, FCD1, January 17, 2017, that's the outline. FCD2 is the implementation phase. Those are found in the federalregister.gov. The operational dates of 1 were 2018 to 2022. The operational dates of 2 is 2020 to 2024. Now, that don't mean December the 31st, 2024. But that executive order where he federalized National Guard active duty is out in March 2024. Now, that don't mean that's going to be it either. That just shows you that federal continuity directive that clearly says these two are your canopies or your umbrellas to look at, it ends 2024. And he's already said in multiple interviews that 2024 election will be our final battle. That's kind of like saying Armageddon, right? Our final battle. So there's a lot of what we call optics in there. So people don't have to hang on too much longer in that way. But I encourage people to go, don't look at it as hanging on. Look at it as God is. I heard my cousin, who's a preacher, he was at a church in Oklahoma not long ago with an older preacher. And that preacher said, if God does not answer for what we have, he said, God will have to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah. That is a very strong statement. Very powerful and very strong. All right, so what we're witnessing is a clean out biblically. And how God does it, don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like on the flip side, but it feels more of a great awakening than it does some other form of anything. It's not destruction. It's nothing to be scared of. And the Bible doesn't even say that. Nowhere in the Bible does it command us to be scared. It says, I didn't give you the spirit of fear, but a love, a power, and a sound mind. And people need to say, hey, I got a sound mind. And in order to keep a sound mind, you got to read. There's laws in place that show you what's going on. There's directives in place that show you. And then there's visuals that back that up, as I call receipts.
Right. And, I really appreciate you for coming on. And I would like to know, how can people follow you and actually get your music, too? Because I'm telling you, I'm an artist myself. And when I heard that you were an artist, I'm like, okay, so God is really playing this frequency. Because, listening to your music and all this, it's like, I'm saying you and I, because we're artists, We are set up to do this because we already have a frequency that's healing people through our voice and singing. So how can they get in touch with you? Or, I mean, even just to follow you so you can continue this? Yes. How do we do that?
So, so on my music side is DerickJohnsonCountry.com. So DEREK, DerickJohnsonCountry.com. There is another Derick Johnson out there. That poor guy's probably getting all kinds of publicity. He's a Christian artist, which is cool. But I hope he's not receiving any kind of hate. I did reach out to him one time and I said, hey, just in case, I apologize because, what's going on. But DerickJohnsonCountry.com. Instagram is at Derick Johnson Country, same spelling, DEREK, Derick Johnson Country. And then also on Facebook, Derick Johnson Country. Those are pretty consistent. On the government side, political side, I have thedocuments.info, however you pronounce it. Documents is plural, so thedocuments.info. We have the 1776nation.com as of right now. Now I am making a transition. We're kind of gonna try to rebrand with a new name. We're working on that right now and getting everything registered. But as of right now, the documents.info has all of my links anyway.
Yes.
Facebook, we're rebranding it too. We're going to try to make things cohesive as we can, but Facebook is 1776 Nation Original. I do have a lot of copycats out there. We got a lot of people who scam and fraud, so you got to be careful with that. I don't message people as far as I'm not the first to message. When people message, I will respond if we can get to it. We do have hundreds of emails and messages, but I'm not one messaging you and shooting the breeze with you in a different kind of way. It's just I don't have time to do that, so I tell people be aware. Let's see, Facebook, so 1776 Nation Original, and then True Social at Derick Johnson is my handle, Derick Johnson. That's the only thing I've ever got my name at. And then on Telegram, that's the one you got to be tricky with. I think it's 144,000 followers. So you always look at that first. Raffle Trap 1776, all one word, no spaces, underscores, periods, dashes, whatsoever. So the best way to do that is www.t.me/raffletrap1776. So that's RATTLETRAP 1776. Twitter and Rumble are also Raffletrap 1776. So cool. That's how you find all of me.
Okay. And you know what? When all this is over, said and done, I would like for you to look at Rahn Anthony song that I have out. That's it's a country song. I do country, gospel, all of it. But it's a country song out. It's called Country Swag. And then I have other country music out there. When this is all over, I would love to do a duet with you.
Hey, we don't even have to wait till it's over.
Oh, okay.
People need music. People need music and comedy throughout all this.
Yes,
that's the key thing is for people to understand. Just if it gets too much for you, turn the phone off, put the phone down, turn the TV off. I always tell people turn the TV off anyway at this point, but don't. Go golf, go hike, go fish, go swim, go whatever it is you like to do, go do that. Do not let your negative energy take over whatsoever. It's not working. So turn on some music, turn on some Derick Johnson Country or Ron, whichever one floats, or both of us, but step away from it. At the end of the day, it's not worth losing your attitude over it or your health or anything of that nature.
Okay, I think you're kind of going out a little bit.
Oh boy, really?
Okay, a little bit, yeah. You there?
I'm here.
Okay, so
that's odd.
And you know what, Derick? The song that I wrote is called Highway, and it's kind of like what we're doing. And a lot of people are at a crossroad. So when you're at that crossroad, you gotta listen inside so you'll know which way to go. So what we're doing as artists, you and I, we're at the road and we're going on the highway because that's what's going to get us to where, and so you get a chance, just check it out, and I'll talk to your manager. She's very great. I spoke to her, and I am so thankful to have you on, and I thank God that you're an artist because you're doing so much. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you for coming on, Q, and I will get that information as far as the music, because I want you to hear it, because that's the road you're on. You're on the highway, because we've all been through the crossroad. We didn't know which way to go, what's going on, but the power of God has put us on the right road, and I thank you for it.
Yes,
all
sir.
right,
well, thank you. It's good to be here.
Yes.
Encourage everybody to go read. It's there. You just got to go find the receipt.
Yes. All right. I'll get in contact with your manager, so, as you go through this, I'll call you back to be on, and I thank you for being in Atlanta right now, because this is Atlanta, and we are on all kind of platforms, so I thank you for it. This is mainstream, so I hadn't got in trouble yet. So thank you, Derick, for being on this show. Thank you. Until
Absolutely.
next time. All right. Love you. This is Rahn Anthony, Atlanta. We're out of here until next Friday. All right? Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoy this show and you feel good about yourself, because you're it. If you ever want to give up, stand up from within and know that you can make it no matter what anybody says, no matter what the gossip is talking about you, no matter when the bills come. Always remember that you are it. Live from within. Know that God lives within you and not on the outside, and you can make it. Tune in every Friday p.m., 1100 a.m.